Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. So we took a loss, Mike McCarthy's debut to the Los Angeles Rams as they opened their new stadium in LA. Obviously, no fans there, but the L on Sunday Night Football to open the season is never good for us, any situation. But there's going to be a lot of talk Monday regarding the two big plays of the game, right? The offensive pass interference call against Michael Gallup when he was being covered by Jalen Ramsey, and then Mike McCarthy's decision early in the fourth quarter, get aggressive, go for it on fourth down, 4th and 3, and the Cowboys do not convert as CeeDee Lamb is tackled short, first down marker. So all those things are the big talking points. But the Cowboys lost this game really over the last 2 years, right? Because Sean McVay's familiarity, A, with our personnel, B, with just having played up against that personnel so many times in a very recent period of time. We played them at the end of last season. We did beat them. We played them very recently in a playoff game. We played them twice in the regular season with all these guys. One of the things that I've always noticed, and I will come back to the big plays, but the way they open the game, they go to the bootleg, they get Robert Woods, they immediately get 20 yards. The amount of space that they have off of their bootleg before even establishing the run, then they're able to establish the run. Malcolm Brown had a lot of success. Shout out to our brother from University of Texas. They're able to get Higbee involved. They're able to get Cooper Kupp involved. They get a lot, really whatever they want, specifically in the first half with their throw game. Run game, we really didn't have success throughout. So isn't that what got you eliminated from the playoffs, right? Like, isn't that got you what you struggle with against the Rams, going back to Todd Gurley? They opened the game with something that y'all have always struggled with again. The defensive end having problems staying home. The issues with outside containment in certain scenarios. Then them cutting you up, getting vertical, getting lateral with their offensive linemen. We've allegedly tried to soup up the defensive line to address and remedy some of those issues. But we didn't see that improvement. When a team comes out and scores immediately the way that the Rams did, and then they come out on their second drive and suck up the rest of the quarter with like a 16-play drive, all those things cost you the football game. Because we always talk about, and I feel like as Cowboys fans, we always feel like we're being victimized, right? Like we have like the Des Caught situation or anything that happens at the end of the game where it's like everything comes down to this moment. And while that moment could go either way, and yeah, maybe, but now I'm talking about if Michael Gallup catches that and say we score a touchdown and we win in overtime, we're having a conversation about stealing a football game. Because if you watched all 60 minutes, we were not the better football team, okay? When you look at and look, both teams settled in defensively and adjusted well after the half. There were only 10 points scored after halftime for both sides. I felt like us being up 14-13 at the end of the first half, we were kind of stealing there too. Now, you would like to see Mike McCarthy and our football team take advantage and steal games where we have an opportunity to win, which leads me to the first major talking point, which is the decision, right? We're in the red zone. And I understand folks that are saying, hey, Jason Garrett had issues with being aggressive. I did think Jason Garrett got more aggressive and as a later tenure with the Dallas Cowboys. You can go back and look at that. Yeah, but for the most of his career, he was relatively conservative. That is true. Mike McCarthy's like, hey, I want to play to win, blah, blah. Cool. I don't mind that mindset. Where I have a problem is when you throw out the box excuse and say, well, we had a favorable box. That's why we decided to run on 3rd and 6 because we're going to call 2 plays and do it anyway. Call a play to get the first down on 3rd and 6. Why don't you be aggressive there? Like and for me, the way Aaron Donald was playing, the way Michael Brockers was playing, throw the box stuff out when those guys are there, because you can't just go straight up numbers game, especially when Aaron Donald is there. I even tweeted he needs to be drug tested immediately because he was tossing people left and right. And our guys, look, we had a lot of folks, offensive line and running backs like Zeke, that gave a yeoman's effort to try to slow him down. But he's one of the best players in the NFL, period. So I don't want to buy – don't sell me on the box excuse. If we're going to go box excuse, then I would like to see a quarterback draw or some sort of quarterback run game in that scenario, if that's going to be the logic there, to get the additional blocker and really take advantage of a favorable box. If not, call a real play on 3rd and 6, throw the freaking football. If you don't convert, you kick the field goal and tie the football game. There's still about 10, 11 minutes left in the quarter. Because that leads me to the other thing. We've had an issue as well with our more not short yardage, but short area throws and where it's 4th or 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4 or 4th and 3 or 4th and 4 or 4th and 2, where we always have problems converting. One of the things is we don't get enough space. And this is something that happens quite often that I've seen with the Dallas Cowboys, where, whether it was Randall Cobb before CeeDee Lamb, a lot of people going on CeeDee Lamb because he ran a little too short. It's debatable. We can look at it. I do believe the Rams made a great play, and you have to give a lot of credit to Sean McVay again. As I open this video, they won this game before because this is how we always play, and they've tailored their whole game plan to our weaknesses. This was a perfect opponent, and styles make fights too. The way the Rams play and the way we want to play marry up and kind of play to their advantage a little bit. So those are things we have to get better at, because if you notice, whenever the Rams are in a 3rd and favorable, like a 3rd and less than 5, or even a 4th down, they can always go to their bootleg stuff. They can always go to a hard play action and immediately get space for somebody. The Cowboys, like when we go to our 3rd and 3 and we need to throw, our primary is never wide open. It's always either Dak has to make a play, he has to either fit a ball in a tight window. We don't just immediately get a good picture like the Rams were able to get for Jared Goff a lot of time. Because when you look at Jared Goff, when we got him in 3rd and longs, that's where we started getting successful. And I kept saying this. I'm like, hey, you guys just need to figure out how to get them in a better down and distance for you, so Mike Nolan can get into his blitz packages. And they figured that out later in the game, which is a good sign, even with the loss of Leighton Vander Esch, which we'll talk about. But later in the game, you see once Jared Goff got hit, I believe it was by Joe Thomas, the ball starts spraying all over the place. That's the type of quarterback he is. But when things are clean and he's coming off that hard play action, this is something that Kyle Shanahan also does with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's very, very easy for them to get into a rhythm, start completing a lot of passes, and the momentum starts rolling downhill. So us as from a schematic perspective, the Cowboys, Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, they're going to have to figure out how to deal with those scenarios better. Because regardless of how the defense is playing you, they know how to pick up chunk yards in their run game. And it's sad that I've talked this long and haven't mentioned Zeke. Zeke is in phenomenal shape. It's probably the best shape I've seen him in to start a season since he's been a Cowboy. So that's very encouraging. The way he was utilizing the passing game is very encouraging. And for those of you who had concerns about Mike McCarthy being too pass happy and things of that sort, they stuck with their run game, sometimes to a fault on 1st down, where they weren't able to generate some of those explosive plays, stay out of chains. But Zeke looked great. He really, really did. Was breaking tackles, was slashing. His vision was really good. Was falling forward consistently for 1st downs, and gave it the best possible effort he could, and pass protection. So he was one of the best football players on the field for either team tonight. Going back to the decision, I believe aggression falls, A, in how you decide to call plays, right? The Rams are sitting mostly in like a cover 2 shell type of look. They are very cognizant of our wide receivers, our personnel. They don't want to get beat over the top. So they're playing a lot of off, which is why we had all those hitches, stop routes on the outside, which seemed like, oh, there's no creativity. But we were kind of taking what the defense was giving us, marrying that with the run game. The issue is when you get into the red zone and things start to condense, you've got to get into another package. And the other thing too is maybe that's an area where we start to run a little bit more tempo and mess up their alignments to try to generate more space. We kind of, after we ran the ball on 3rd and 6, we took our time, we looked to the sideline, even though we knew we were going to go for it, but it allows them to get their personnel set, it allows them to get matched up. If that's the logic, again, if it's going to be, we're calling 2 plays, right, to get 6 yards, then if you already know what that second play is or you have an idea of what you're going to do, then I'm trying to get on the ball and use that. Like Sean McVay is doing it to you on the other side, him and Jared Goff. They're mixing up the cadence. They're getting cheap yards, right, where Everson Griffin's jumping, DeMarcus Lawrence is jumping. Alden Smith, I think they may have gotten him a time or two, right? Like they're keying on all these things and messing with the cadence and manipulating even the play clock. This is what they were doing in the playoff game. This isn't new. None of those tricks. It's just really them being smart. Credit to Sean McVay for just knowing who the hell he's playing and saying, look, you guys want to be super aggressive. You're trying to fire off the ball because you don't know if we're going to run or pass with how our play action looks. So you're trying to get ahead of it. So we're going to mess with the cadence. We're going to mess with the way we come out on our sets and what we show you. We'll stay in the huddle and then we'll break out at 12 seconds and immediately snap the ball, right? While we're over here trying to get lined up. If you notice in the red zone when we were on defense against the Rams, they were snapping the ball so quickly. Anthony Brown's still trying to run across the formation to get lined up. Why not return the favor to them? I think that's something that we can introduce. There's an opportunity for that. Now, going to offensive pass interference, yeah, would I call? Should that have been called in that scenario? No, you got to let the players play. Am I furious about it? No, we got one on the Cheeto interception. It goes both ways. When Alden Smith had hands to the face, is it frustrating because the one time where the Rams were trying to bring pressure and we finally got like a real one-on-one opportunity and Dak was able to take a shot and he threw a great ball to Michael Gallup and we made a play. The NFL needs to decide what they want to do there, right? Because you want your players to make plays at the end of the games, especially falling for the cheap tactic that Jalen Ramsey employed. And it was a cheap one where he flopped. To me, he's too good of a football player to rely on stuff like that, and he flat out got beat. He knows that. Michael Gallup knows that. Jalen Ramsey made a hell of a play earlier in the quarter on the 3rd and 5 where he came off Gallup and, stuck Amari Cooper on the out route and forced the pass breakup. That's the Jalen Ramsey I know. But the one that got beat downfield, they were picking on him. And I have no problem with them targeting them. But again, we always seem to end up in the situation where we need that kind of miracle or that kind of play to win the game because we didn't do our work earlier in the game. We started too slow. We had 3 quarters in this football game where we didn't score a touchdown. We had 14 points in the second quarter, and then I think we had 3 points in the third quarter, and that was it. I don't think we scored in the fourth quarter. So a lot to work on there. There's a lot to be encouraged about. Alden Smith was our best defensive player, in my opinion, and coming off of such a long hiatus and being away from the game and the energy he brought run and pass game is very, very encouraging to see. And the physicality that he plays with and the speed, you can see the brother's gifts. You don't have to watch him play for more than a few snaps to see, oh, yeah, he's one of the best football players on the field here. Same thing when you look at like Aaron Donald on the other side or Brockers or any of those guys. So those things are encouraging. There's something there to work with for Mike Nolan. I was very impressed with Trayvon Diggs. I thought he battled well, even on the catch he gave it to Van Jefferson. He's right there in coverage. I was impressed with his tackling. He kept us alive with the Malcolm Brown tackle. He was feisty. all night, and already one of our best corners. Let's be real, because you look at the way that Anthony Brown was out there struggling, falling down, and I know there's also going to be conversation about Earl Thomas. Do we go down that well? Is that something where we can now, already being in the season, kind of non-guaranteed? I'd be open to it because you don't have the playmaking from safeties. Like Darian Thompson made a lot of tackles. Xavier Woods was there. Did they make any plays? No, especially when you look at we're playing the Falcons next week. Jamal Adams and what he was doing on the Seahawks against the Falcons game, he had a hell of a game. It was all over the place. It seemed like every tackle he's around the ball, right? Now, Earl Thomas is not necessarily the same type of amazing down-in-the-box type of safety that Jamal Adams is, but they're both playmakers in their own right with how they're utilized or within their skill set. Excuse me. We don't have that at safety, period. So that's a problem. Then the bigger problem is the Leighton Vander Esch situation, because at what point do we start having a conversation about the man's long-term health? Like, is it even okay for him to play football? Because I feel like this is even veering away from where Sean Lee was. Sean Lee was just fragile, but, in at least in the prime of his career, was able to give us something. Whereas Leighton Vander Esch has a neck concern. Now, this particular injury is a fractured clavicle. I believe he's going to go on IR. We'll see if he can come back. But those things are still in that same area, same neck of the woods. They're still – and I think all of us seeing when they were testing him and they're kind of compressing his neck, it's just, wow, like we can't even get through a half with him, especially being, our signal caller on the inside of the defense is him and Jalen kind of flip-flop. Jalen didn't look great, in my opinion, especially going backwards. Coming forward, he blitzed better, got a nice pass deflection where we almost got an interception with Trayvon Diggs, but we struggled there as well. Blake Jarwin, another injury. Hey, looks like it's an ACL. I have to confirm that because it's late. But that's something where, geez, tough blow, and also affects how we operate. A lot of people saying, why weren't we more aggressive? I think we only threw 2 passes over 20-plus yards. Again, when they're playing cover 2 shell, and one of the ways you have those beaters is the tight end. And when we're now just relying on Dalton Schultz, who did have some issues catching the football today, that's a problem, right? So now we have to get that vertical seam threat, somebody that can pull some of that safety up away so your wide receivers can get some of those more one-on-one type of opportunities. Because when they had them, they were winning. And I felt like Dak Prescott is one of the reasons why we stayed in this game and had such a, I talk about yeoman's effort. I love the fact, and I think this is a function of Mike McCarthy being there. I love the fact that he was using his legs a little bit more, wasn't hesitating on, some of those short ones. I'd actually like to see a little bit more design quarterback runs. I understand you want to keep the quarterback healthy. We don't want to accumulate too many blows, but I'd rather him get blows on his terms than the blows he was taking in the game, where he's getting hit too much in the pocket because our offensive line, yes, we're dealing with some beast up front, and the Rams have a very good defensive line, but, we had Terrence Steele out there at right tackle, who's an undrafted guy. We need Lael Collins back before we go up against Myles Garrett. There's no other way around it, because that could end up being a Chaz Green situation very, very quickly. And then on top of that, we lose Cam Irving, who I wasn't understanding why Cam Irving couldn't play over Steele, but that's another conversation for another day. But Lael Collins needs to get back before the Browns game. Or else you're just going to be having to have all these people babysitting your right tackle, and now you're really, really limited offensively. They tried, again, the guys that Dak was trying to take what the defense was giving him, which was a lot in between the 20s, and we were moving up the ball up and down. But when we also missed a field goal, and we gave up a field goal, decided not to take the points. Well, now we've have multiple drives again where we get nothing. So those things need to be corrected. I'm not panicking yet. It's the first game with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is we talk about understanding personnel, and this kind of where in the video, Sean McVay knows our personnel almost as well as Mike McCarthy does. So he's still learning. And I know Mike McCarthy went up against us a lot as well in Green Bay, but just more recently, I should say, he's still learning a lot of that. And without a preseason, being a new head coach, there is going to be some time that is required there. I just would like to see them try to be a little bit more aggressive in whatever manner earlier in the downs. Let's try to stay ahead of the chains. One of my biggest issues under Jason Garrett was we would get in some of the 3rd and 8s and the 3rd and 7s and the 3rd and 6s too much and have to constantly convert 3rd downs over and over again because we're not getting chunk plays on 1st or 2nd down. So if we can figure out some of those, get a little bit more aggressive there, because when you're aggressive there, your aggressive calls and situational football makes sense because those things are married up. But when you're conservative with your play calling, and then all of a sudden you want to be aggressive, it's not married up, right? We didn't deserve to win this football game tonight. So that's why I'm not even, I'm upset we didn't steal it, but we didn't deserve to win this football game. Right now, the Rams were better coached and a better team, but season, there's still 15 games, a lot in front of us. We're going to be playing a team that is struggling from a coaching perspective next week in the Atlanta Falcons, in my opinion, and a game that we have to try and win and get back to 1-1. Guys, let me know in the comments how you felt about the game. I know I talked about a lot. It's our opener. Haven't gotten a chance to talk Cowboys in a while. If you rock with me, throw me a like, throw me a sub. Appreciate everybody for taking the time to listen to me today. So we'll be back. Things will be okay. I think better days are ahead with Mike McCarthy. I'm still on board. Nothing to worry about.